COVID-19 continues to circle the globe, and it's affected you and me in a lot more ways than I think any of us had anticipated. But nonetheless, we're continuing to go forward and do the best that we can. Air travel is down. We're also seeing shipments a bit delayed, but nonetheless, things are moving forward, and we want to share with you some of the things we are doing at Silver Bullion to help keep the continuity going as we get through this situation together. My name is Patrick Vieira, and this is a special edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV, and I'm going to be bringing on Gregor Gregersen, the founder of Silver Bullion and the Safe House, and he's going to be talking about the changes that COVID-19 has brought upon us.
Singapore has been doing quite well throughout this time. It's been about 2 months now, and we only had about 5 deaths. Life in Singapore has been pretty much normal until the airport was closed, and essentially there are less tourists coming. But as I said, it's been life as normal. What changed is last Friday, the Prime Minister essentially announced that we are going to have a lockdown. The government is calling it a circuit breaking, meaning that they want to stop interaction between people because there's been 20 cases of people which could not be traced on where they got COVID-19 from. So the idea is that by essentially having everybody stay home, in a milder version of what China did, we would essentially be able to eradicate this and hopefully then have a much cleaner sort of situation. So in Singapore, it's being done early, so they'll probably be able to keep the number of infections to a minimum because of that. Economically, of course, there's a cost. We are going to have some budgets as well from the government, which is announcing help to various companies and so on. Actually, the government it's going to be paying between 25% to 75% of people's salaries to kind of ties them over. So Singapore, as you probably know, has a lot of money in reserve for cases like this. And, so it's basically going to be 30 days of being able to stay at home, catch up on sleep, and then essentially work from home. So Silver Bullion is going to be closed down, the local pickup and sell back of bullion. So normally clients which are coming to our office in the San Francisco center will not be able to do so because of the shutdown, but we'll all be working from home, which means that people which have staff storage accounts, they can continue to buy, sell, take P2P loans and so on as normal. You can also do transfer-ins, and we are going to extend our customer support hours. So we are now starting from 7 o'clock in the morning, Singapore time, all the way to 1 o'clock in the morning, Singapore time. So it's going to be 18 hours of continued coverage, which means that we'll be better able to serve international clients. Because we don't have to man an actual office, essentially we can stagger our turns more and thereby provide international clients better support, especially during this time, because we've seen a huge increase in sales. So we've been sort of struggling to catch up, and in a somewhat ironic way, we're actually able to cope better now that we are working from home and don't have to worry about the local side of the business and just focus on the international portion, essentially. As far as the Safe House, fortunately, we got permission from the Singapore government to continue operation. The Safe House has been classified as an essential piece of infrastructure, which means that throughout the lockdown period, we can operate as normal. When I say operate as normal, we won't be allowing for vault tours, and we're minimizing or reducing to a minimum the number of customers being able to come here, but we can still take shipments, and therefore we can essentially get new bullion in, and will still be part of the supply chain, essentially. Because of the lockdown, we are actually going to accelerate a program which we are working on, which was the idea of a virtual vault tour. So in other words, we have cameras and so on, and for people who want to do remote audits, we'll be able to support that. So since you cannot come to Singapore now and actually get an in-person audit or a tour of the vault, which a lot of you people did, we'll be able to do so remotely. Keep in mind, we only have so many slots. We'll probably need to charge something for it. But if you want to see the bullions that you have, we'll actually have some staff members work with a camera, while the other staff members will be retrieving that bullion for you. So that's a program which we're probably going to be launching in a week or so for customers who are really interested to do something like that. So gold and silver is supply. This is a very interesting thing right now because it changes daily almost. In the case of gold, it's quite okay when it comes to 1 kilobars. Right now, we're pretty much able to get these almost indefinitely. The price has sort of stabilized. However, it's very difficult to get coins, almost impossible to get maple leaf gold coins. And it is somewhat hard to get 100-gram gold bars. But as Hassan said, we are quite okay. We have in-stock inventory for about 100 kilos of gold. It's about 3,200 ounces. And we're essentially rotating these. So with the Safehouse continuing operations during the lockdown, we should be able to keep on having new gold in stock all the time. So for gold, we're quite okay, as long as we're talking about the big bars. As far as silver, that situation is very different. Maple leaves, American Eagles, these have essentially sold out or are very hard to get a week or 2 weeks ago. And what we've been able to get so far are the 1,000 ounce bars. Now, those are getting hard to obtain now. It's partially because I think supply is just getting harder to find, but also because it's very difficult to get them shipped over. 90% of planes are essentially grounded, which means that silver is very heavy for the amount of value, which means if you need to ship 8 tons by plane, most of the plane capacity isn't there. And so things are getting delayed even when you find the silver until it comes to Singapore or anywhere else at that point. So what we've also been told is that essentially every time we order silver now, even say 1,000 ounce bars, say premiums keeps on increasing every ton we get. So pretty soon we might have to stop allowing for pre-orders and essentially just sell back whatever bullion that our customers are selling back to us. So we have always been very conservative when it comes to the timeline for receiving bullion. As you know, we have about, for LBMA bars, we're normally saying 8 weeks. Typically, we can fulfill in less than half time. Essentially, all of the orders, all the pre-orders you did, we can easily fulfill. We'll fulfill it before the due date. We have about 540,000 ounces of silver incoming, which is confirmed. So that's about 18 tons or so. And we have about 2,400 ounces of gold and silver, which are incoming as well. So all of the existing pre-orders will be fulfilled before the expected due date and will be parcelized. So existing orders don't really have a problem. Essentially, the premium for coins has increased drastically. In the United States and so on, American Eagle is selling at almost $10 above spot right now. Maple leaves are around that as well. So we are buying back American Eagles at around $4.50 above spot right now. Maples are being sold back around $4 in large quantities as well. So what I've just done personally is I actually sold most of my Eagles and bought LBMA good delivery bars. And the reason I did it is because the premiums are so high, essentially I can buy more ounces for it. I mean, right now Silver Bullion is essentially buying Eagles at about 33% over spot. So if you buy LBMA with it, which is a much lower percentage over spot, you essentially can get, say, 10-15% of free silver or additional silver. And so that's what I did. So for customers which are interested to do that, you could consider selling your maple leaves and then switching into LBMA bars. I think it's normal in a time of crisis for people to raise that question. So we had a number of people call us and ask, hey, how are you doing? Are you still in business? And so on. So I have to reiterate, we started this company with the expectations that there's going to be a financial crisis, a currency crisis, and a nationalization. So when it comes to Silver Bullion, we have about $20 million Singapore dollars, which is about 14 million US dollars in net assets. We have no loans whatsoever. We have no loans to banks. We minimize our exposure to banks by only having checking accounts, essentially. We don't leverage gold. We don't do margin. We don't do any of these things. We essentially have all of our assets in silver bullion, in metal. So on top of that, from our storage income, we can essentially run the whole company. So we can run indefinitely silver bullion with zero sales. So I can't think of any other company which essentially is so well set as we are financially to continue operations indefinitely. When I built Silver Bullion, a lot of people were criticizing me, saying I'm inefficient. I should be taking money out of Silver Bullion and get loans from banks, and then I should use banking products and do this and that. And look, the reality is, gold and silver is an appreciating asset. Just by holding it, it's going to go up over time. Long term, it's going to go up. The US dollar is a depreciating asset. Just like other currencies, it's going to keep on falling. So essentially, we are keeping gold and silver, and the objective of Silver Bullion is to keep on increasing the gold and silver holdings, and do so in a way that is extremely safe. And so essentially, we are walking the talk, we're not just talking. Yeah, so we are sort of getting into the situation now with silver. We are only able to get some silver from one refinery right now, and we're being told that this might stop. So essentially, if we cannot get silver and we cannot have a certainty, reasonable certainty that we can reorder it, we're just going to stop to allow people to pre-order bullion. So that doesn't mean we won't be completely ceasing to sell silver. It just means that we essentially have to wait for our customers to sell back bullion to us in order to then be able to offer it. To give you an idea, right now we're getting close to 250 tons of silver that we're storing to customers. So chances are good that some of these customers are going to sell back. We keep on raising our buyback price in the hope that customers are actually going to sell back some of that bullion. And once they do, that bullion will be available for sale on the website. It's starting to look like gold is okay and will probably continue to be okay when it comes to the 1 kilo bars, because 3 of the big Swiss refineries are resuming partial production. The Perth Mint actually is stopping silver refining and is going into gold. So a lot of the industry is sort of trying to make up for the missing supplies by producing more and more gold. On the other side, that means that there's actually less production of silver. So I think the shortage of silver is going to continue for quite a while. It is also difficult to get the shipping done. So we are trying to talk with suppliers to actually ship by ship now instead of plane. But sometimes that's more complicated than it seems because of insurance reasons and other things that need to be worked out. So to summarize it, 1 kg gold kilobars and larger shouldn't be a problem. Small gold coins, they will probably come back maybe in a month or 2 months. Will be my guess, but that's a pure guess. And silver is, for now, is going to be very difficult to get. And to be honest, I think the silver price simply has to go up higher for people to be interested in selling the silver again. And if 2008 is any indication. During the crisis in 2008, silver fell as low as $9.50. And within a year and a half, it went all the way up to $50. So if we look at the Hunt Brothers period of time in the early 80s, silver went to about $49, which if you inflation adjust it is about $250 now. So do I think $250 realistic? Why not? It will just be re-reaching the high of the early 80s with the inflation adjustment. So at some point when physical supply is too low, the price has to adjust. And I expect that to happen, just like it did after the 2008 crisis. I don't know when that's going to happen yet, but what I do see is that most people which bought silver are not willing to sell. Even when we offer 30% over spot, people are not selling. So the spot prices are going to have to raise. One way or another, silver is going to go up over time. Well, I think the first thing is, not to worry about us, because essentially we're doing great over here. You can go to our website, silverbullion.com.sg, and we have a page where we will update about developments. Our customer service team will be up there between 7 and 1 o'clock in the morning, so 18 hours. You can call us, you can write us. We'll answer you individually, and of course we're sending out the newsletters. SBTV with Patrick will be working as usual. And as mentioned before, we'll be trying out our new vault audit remotely. So if anything, we've got a lot of new things and services coming. And once this is over, come visit us again in Singapore. So it's essentially 1 month where we're just going to be doing it remotely.